Everyone, welcome back to the On Armor Talk podcast. I am your host, Mario P. Fields. For first time listeners and viewers, thank you for either downloading the audio or getting on that YouTube channel and watching the playlist, On Armor Talk playlist. Remember, my YouTube channel has many playlists. It's like going into a grocery store. You get some things in aisle one, two, three, and four. But if you guys want to check this one out, go to the podcast playlist. And again, thank you for your years of support. And I'll continue to do this until my granddaughter tells me to stop. She's the only one with the power. Well, God, and then my granddaughter tells me to stop. But everyone, we have a guest that was on the show August of 2023, Cynthia Schwartzberg. Schwartzberg, did I get it right? I got it right last time.
You got it right this time too. Yeah.
And so Cynthia's been back. I mean, this is wonderful. She's back to give us some new information, some updated journeys in regards to that first episode. If you guys don't remember, it was hitting the restart button after 30 years of marriage. The journey, it did well. I learned a lot from it. And now we have Cynthia back. Cynthia, what is going on?
Hi. It's great to be here and great to be with everybody in this community. So thank you for having me back. I guess the reason initially why I reached out to come back and to talk some more was because I relaunched the book, The Curious Voyage to Authenticity. So I changed the title because The Curious Voyage, somebody said, well, where are you going? He goes, it sounds like a travel log. It was a Eric Reed, he's a publisher. So I said, good point. I don't know why we didn't think of that. But like when you're in a certain field and you're just going about day to day, you sort of your languaging can get sloppy, right? So it's good to have fresh eyes and ears on it. So
And I
now it's called The Curious Voyage to Authenticity, a rule making guide for personal growth. So that's the other added value to it. But I put a little bit more of my own story in it. And then I also help people go through the journey. So there's a beginning, a middle, and end, almost like the hero's journey, starting from automatic pilot, going to getting curious about why do I do the things that I do, and then how can I come from a more authentic, intuitive space.
No, I love it. And for the first time listeners and viewers, and if you have not watched the episode that was published August of 2023, how can people find you before we get into the topic? What's the best way they can find you or purchase the book, Cynthia?
Synthesis.com is the website. So the book is on the front page. I also have like a little giveaway about like how to do self spotting, brain spotting. So it's called self spotting on there so they can join. But then I have under the events different things that are coming up. But if they go to the Curious Voyage class, they can see like what the classes are about that help people go on the voyage in a community setting together. So the best spot is the website.
And I love you receive feedback and you had a choice, right? Where are we going? We going to the Bahamas? Where the hell are we going? What's curious? We're going to space. And I love how you and I love how I like how you were able to take that feedback and turn it into more positive work. And there's a lot of folks between layoffs, the economy, relationships, unexpected deaths that have start a new
Mm.
voyage and they don't kind of know how to apply certain skills. My basic understanding is you took information out of your first book, right? And really made it user friendly. You have clients. Can you talk to us a little bit about that experience?
Um, well, I realized that the first book has all the pieces, but there
Mm.
wasn't a thread that was connecting. And I wanted to add a little bit more of my own story to it so that people could also relate. So going from like the beginning and talking about like on my own beginning, I started, in my life, I always was a little bit curious about like what's the purpose to life.
Mm.
And one of the stories that I share is one time when I was at temple will bring. I was brought up Jewish. We were praying, and I said to my mother, "Well, what does that mean?" And she was like, "Well, we just say it." And that wasn't a satisfactory answer to me because I don't know, like, why am I saying that? And maybe I believe it, maybe I don't believe it. So starting to get curious of like, why do I do the things that I do? Because I'm told to, or because there's some value and purpose? And how can, if I find the value and purpose, then I can add purpose and meaning to my life, which is a contribution to the world. That's
That you
how I
know,
see it.
Cynthia, and I'm glad you brought that up because that's one thing that I changed over the years, and I learned that. Believe it or not, I learned that from children, and that's why I'm smiling because, like you said, it helps you gain a better understanding in an accurate way of what do you mean by that? What do you what do you mean? And I love how you put your own personal journeys in there and explain that because that could be that could be touchy. You look at your mom, put someone and go, What do you mean?" And they
Yeah,
go, this is how it always been done." And you took that extra step to go, well, let's explore, let's remain curious and find what does that really mean.
yeah. I mean, it's the same thing. Like, so you're talking, a lot of us do work because we need to. And I have some clients that are like come to those choice points where they could pivot and make a change. Like let's say they haven't made a full commitment to family and all the stressors, but there's fear or there's society that says, well, you're making good money, stick with it, right?
Mm,
But the satisfaction level, if you look at the statistics with, you know, blood pressure, which we were talking about earlier, or digestive issues, like life is filled with stress, and there's so much stress going on now. So, how can we keep ourselves more regulated? Well, it's not going to be by being in a very negative work environment. So, like for myself, when I went like to the court system every day, working in the basement of the courts, working with pins cases. Like half of my cases were suicidal adolescents. It was very stressful.
mm.
Um, I did have the gift of pivoting that, but I also want to always find a way to give to those populations. Like if I can't tolerate something, but it's also of my heart, how else can I make my like some rippling effect, so throughout the years I've continued to find ways to keep giving in certain arenas that maybe as that young adult I could not do, but maybe now I can,
Yeah,
you
and
know
remaining curious. What has been some of the feedback from your clients? And before you get into that, I can tell you, and we talked about this off air, but I'll tell you and everyone on air, just to mention that when Cynthia mentioned the health effects of what do you mean? Why am I doing this? Is it do I need to do it or do I want to do it? And understanding that it has improved my health significantly. Reading Cynthia's book, The Curious Voyage, and listening to her, what has some of the feedback been from other clients that you've had?
well, I think I shared with you about this one exercise that I did at the book launch where the blood pressure literally went down by doing it's called the ball of light, and you can add like a recording of it to your show notes if you want. I'll give you. But the other things that people have come up with are by doing the exercises, they are making different choices. So people, for example, in our class last night, made an intention of like, I want to lose weight. I want to
Mhm.
exercise more, which is a common thing for many of us Americans at least. So we were looking at there's the desire, but what's the intention behind that desire? Like that may be my desired, and that may be what I say I want. That might be what I'm speaking as my decision, but my
Right.
actions aren't matching my decision. So why aren't my actions matching my decision? And what we do in the Curious Voyage, and what I do with my clients, is we kind of peel away, because whenever there's two opposing forces in us, if we don't look at both sides of that opposing force and get really curious with it, it's hard for movement to happen.
Mm.
Sometimes I notice with clients, if there's a headache, many times it's because there's an internal conflict happening. So,
Mm.
that movie Inside Out, which is
Mhm.
like shows us that we're made up of parts. So, teaching people about the parts of themselves, teaching them dialoguing and how to dialogue with these different parts and getting curious. Um, there's like a meditation with three voices, getting curious with each aspect and learning what the aspects are that are supportive and what are the aspects that are less constructive or less beneficial to us. But just saying, okay, well, I'm just going to get over that. Like my body obviously isn't doing that. I'm still walking towards that snack food or whatever it might be. It's like, oh, I'm going to get rid of it. And then here I go. And I'm, like, that's not happening. So it's like, okay, but why is what makes that not happen? It's not the why, but it's getting more curious, because a why can keep us in even loopy thinking. You're laughing at
Cynthia, you must be talking about me. And I'm glad because I tell you, you're so accurate because sugar for me, I have no discipline with candy. Okay. So I said, what does that mean, Mario? And so I became intentional and I said, well, if you don't buy it, then you remove the ability to walk to it at night and eat it. And I have, based off of what you just said and in your book and your recommendations, I have applied it where I've lost about 5 to 6 pounds just not
oh
eating candy because of what you just said. It's easy to say, but what's the activity, the action behind it? What are you doing and connecting those dots inside out?
yeah.
Every time
That's
I get ready to get some candy, I'm like, oh, Cynthia, oh, curious voice. Curious voice. Everybody, you should do the same. Get the book. Hey, as soon as you start to if your cholesterol's up and you want to get that large fry, go ahead and get that small fry. Curious Voyage. Have that book in your car.
That's funny. But, yeah. I mean, I'm also talking about myself, so I'm just saying,
Oh yeah.
um, it's like I
Oh,
haven't, we all have whatever that triggers something is that gives us that downward ripple. But the other thing I do want to point out from what you said is not just the book, but there's the journal now.
yeah.
And at the end of the journal, there's questions. And I can also just send you these questions. They're for the beginning of the day and the end of the day.
Mm.
Because part of being curious and part of shifting our awareness is strengthening that inner observer. And that part of us that's willing to ask the question, that's willing to sit down, and that's willing to contemplate thinking differently. Um, it helps to do like journaling or some form of that. Um, and then I do believe that we can't leave out the body and some physiological movement, or like that brain body connection, like what brain spotting offers us. Before brain spotting, I was doing core energetics, which is working with energy and consciousness. But it we can't just do it with our thoughts alone. We have to get to that subcortical brain um, that's kind of running the machinery back here. That's that's saying, "Oh, I'll do that tomorrow," and I'm going to the refrigerator today. Like if we don't find some process to help support that, it makes it really hard. And that's what neuroplasticity and the awareness of that is such a gift about. Me, and just on a basic terminology, it just means starting to think differently, because if I'm thinking differently over and over, there's like more pathways, there's more train tracks that are being built in my brain to ride on that are different than those destination train tracks that I used to go on.
Cynthia, I wish I would have met you, when I was in the Marine Corps. And this is, again, thanks for your service, for everyone serving in any branch of service in the United States Armed Forces. But I can only speak from my experience as a Marine. And one thing we used to say is, how can you take care of those you lead if you're not taking care of yourself? We do a great job at taking care of folks who, I believe we do a great job. We try to taking care of the thousands of folks you're leading and mentoring and inspiring. But there was not much time that, like you just said, Mario, ask yourself, Sergeant Major, be curious about yourself. Take time to be intentional. Ask yourself some questions. Shut off the phone. Go inside a room, meditate, become more connected with you, become more healthier with you, mind and body and soul, and understand what that means. Remain curious and then go out and lead. I believe I would have been a lot more effective, who knows, with the principles and the concept you just laid out, Cynthia. How much do I owe you for that?
Well, to receive my gratitude for your service. How's that?
I, appre- I appreciate, which I don't know if Cynthia's like Oprah money, no, I'm just joking, but so Cynthia,
So, but I want to
moving,
say something. Can I just quickly say something
yeah,
about you
go
just
on,
said?
yeah. We're
Because so
sitting on the
many
couch
people
here.
come up with that line, I don't have the time.
Mm,
So
what does
there's
that
certain
mean?
things that you can do to shift your um vibe, shall we say, or
Mhm,
your energy.
yeah.
Um, there's things that you can do that take like 30 seconds to a couple of minutes. There's things that you can do, but without changing anything. I can be walking down the street and I can have a multitude of different ways of
Mm,
observing, of walking, even if if I have to keep the same pace. But it's like my mindset is really taking no much more or less time, right? So, I know that we can't only do it cognitively, but I used to like swim and I would just let out my anger like under the water and like, this is in core energetics. We were into like releasing the rage, the anger, whatever. But I'm not hurting anybody or anything when I'm under the water
mm,
and in movement. But my energy changed by the time I got out. Now, would it have changed anyway because I was swimming? Yes, but where my head frame was in that moment, maybe not.
right.
Because that energy of swimming might have added to my negative mindset versus while I'm swimming, doing some mental body work, I was able to shift it. So I just wanted to say that for viewers to get curious about why you think you can't do some of the ways of shifting your stress.
I love it. On Armor Talk podcast, you guys know the deal. Emotions are natural when we're all born. There's about 8.5 billion humans on Earth the last time I checked, and there's about 8.5 different galaxies of emotions. But to think, unless you're insane, it's a choice. And like Cynthia said, remain curious. Get her book, get the journal, connect with her, get a session. If you guys don't have that book in your car when you start to get that large fry, shame on you.
Well, if they
Shame.
can't get a session, they can always join a class.
Yeah, join a class. Hey, I tell you, I've lost about 5, 6 pounds. Y'all can't see it because I guess I hold weight well, but yeah, my daughter put me in check. But Cynthia,
Thank
Cynthia,
you.
it's been wonderful again having you back on the show. Again, you are always welcome on Armor Talk podcast. Do you have any last remarks again for our listeners and viewers?
Yeah, I just think believe in yourself and learn to trust your own intuition.
Yes, and definitely believe in yourself, everyone. Be your number one fan. You can be your number one enemy too. But Cynthia, thank you for blessing our show again. And I truly appreciate everything you're doing, not just for me, but for the world. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Maria. Thank you, everybody, for sharing your time and space with me.
Nice. So you
Thank
guys know the deal. Everyone, a couple of weeks, another another guest who's willing to remove their armor to talk about some things behind the scenes to help you develop an accurate way of thinking. Hopefully, you can influence the outcome of life events that you see coming or you don't see coming. But until then, I continue to pray that God blesses you, the listeners and viewers, your family members, your friends, and all living beings around you. See you guys soon.